before I actually went into and started recording with the video and everything like that, I actually wrote down some lyrics. This part was not super long, but very intense. What I do generally whenever I write music is I have a song and I'll play it a bunch and I'll establish a melody with the song that I think sounds really good. And that happened. And as I was playing the chorus, I kept thinking of these kind of like shouts that I would do, like hide and sing. Like, it wasn't necessarily like I'm singing. It was more of like I'm shouting into the distance, into the abyss. And I didn't have words. I was just like doing it. And eventually I experimented with different like variations of words and syllables, putting them in different spots to see where they fit. And so eventually I landed on hide and seek. And as soon as that happened, it like clicked. I was like, oh, this is like something that I can explore. This is a story. I started like thinking about playing hide and seek as a child and how that experience kind of like transformed, because I remember playing it all the time, like in the playground, and all of a sudden there was a moment where I just stopped doing that because I was like, I'm too old to do that now. And it was intense. I thought about that moment where I like had to like say I wasn't going to do it. And it wasn't like I wanted to stop doing it. It was more of like I was mad, like I had been yelled at for some reason. I had been called immature for, as kids do, say like, you're a baby or, something stupid. But in that moment, I just felt like, I need to grow up. Like this shit's real. This is serious. I gotta get my shit figured out. and that moment like was the exact thing I thought about whenever I was singing hide and seek. It was like there's just a point in time where you're just not a kid anymore. And it's jarring because you don't notice it in that moment. It's something you think about way down the line. It's just like at some point you stop being that kid. You stop being that person. And it's weird to think about that. But that's what I could feel in this moment. And what I did is I turned off all the lights as I was writing this, because I need to get in like a space where I'm not like seeing lights. I'm not seeing things of like this particular world. I need to get into that like fictional place, and that's in that atmosphere. I need to like feel it and be part of it. And so the only thing I can hear is the guitar and me singing and being part of that world. It's a really intense experience. If you ever done like a cryogenic chamber, or have you ever experienced lucid dreaming? It's really intense. I can talk about that stuff later, but that's the process that I do whenever I start writing these lyrics. So I had hide and seek. That was all I needed. Everything else just started flowing. And I was thinking about this specific story that I had been writing, and it was like these two kids that were playing hide and seek, and it was like just an innocent game. And I was imagining them in like this scenario where they were like, brother and sister or something like that. They were like just friends, and they were at this like they were farmers, and they're like their parents like farmed like corn or something along the lines of that. I'm like a Midwestern kid, so I visualize that really easily, just like miles and miles of cornfields. So that was just a quick thing I kind of like latched onto. And also like I was thinking about it, cornfields, like corn mazes, getting lost in those is such like a weird fear that we have, right? It's really like ethereal and it's intense. And I wanted to explore that more. And that's just where the story took me. So I started out obviously with my experience of like that moment where I had to like just grow up, basically kind of forced to do it. And I transferred that emotion onto these characters that I've named John and Beth. If you've gone through the Backstage Pass, you know them intimately. And yeah. Anyway, so I transferred that emotion onto them because I wanted to like explore that. I wanted to see that like visually for myself. And so I took them and I created a story around this game that they play, hide and seek, and them like hiding in the cornfield on the farm. And one of them that goes into hide, they go off into this world that is beyond view and is beyond comprehension, maybe. And the person who has to seek all of a sudden is looking for something that, just a second prior was someone they knew, someone that they loved. And then they run into this field and they find them and they're like torn to shreds, right? What a horrible, horrible thing to experience in that moment. I know this is really intense. If you guys have not listened to the song, if you haven't checked out the Backstage Pass page, this has got to be real weird. You're probably like, what the fuck are you doing? What kind of stories you write? Like I said before, I don't write rom-coms. I write tragedies. That's where this story led me. It led me into tragedy because it's such an intense emotion growing up quickly and being thrust into being, an adult, being alive, being responsible. It's such an intense feeling and experience. And that's what I wanted to explore with this story. And if you listen to the lyrics, that's exactly what you'll see. Let me see if I can actually pull these up so I can, it's funny. I remember lyrics really well, except when I just have to say them. Whenever I play the song, I'll know the lyrics right away because I'm associated with it, right? But if I just need to speak the lyrics, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. So we'll go through this real quick. This is the first verse. It goes, one day she asked me if I'd play. Close your eyes and here you'll stay. Tick the seconds with your voice, and if you find me, that's your choice. It's kind of interesting. Is the protagonist in this story is basically I think I chose it was John in this character. So Beth goes to hide and John is this protagonist. And it's such a weird thing. It's these people choose to play this game, but at any moment you can choose to not look anymore. What a weird thing. Would you ever do that? Probably not, but that's a choice. Someone can make that. I thought that was interesting. And almost I'm going into this abyss. You can come with me if you want. You can look for me if you want. You don't have to. It's almost like you can grow up. You can do this if you want to. But you might not like what you see. That's what that line means to me. So, and then it goes into the chorus, which is hide and seek, breathe in this feeling and pretend you're safe, which is the idea of being covered in the mask of this fun game that you've played for years and years. And it's always been good and you've never had any problems with it. And all of a sudden it creates a scenario where things aren't as certain anymore. And this is just life now. So and pretend you're safe. So there's that. Second verse says, I looked for hours in the grass. The head above me, it had passed. I came upon my little friend. All broken pieces need to mend. This is, John finds Beth in a state in which it's terrifying. The head above me, it had passed. It's basically things towering over you. These, corn crops are towering over you. You can't see above them. Your vision is very much blurred. It's limited, and you come upon something that you used to know, and it's basically mangled. Which is a really intense way to talk about it, but that's the story that I created because I'm a monster. I came upon my little friend, all broken pieces need to mend. I didn't feel like I needed to say that she was killed or she was hurt. I didn't need to say that. It was more of a tragedy, it gets all of us. I've experienced my fair share of it. I don't need to talk about it here, but everyone is at some point will experience that. And mainly it's just because that's just the world we live in. Not everything lasts forever. Not everyone lives forever. And not every relationship you have lives forever. It's a very cyclical world, and it's overbearing sometimes. Sometimes it's a little too much. And, that's just something that I've generally noticed. So there's that. And then it goes back in the chorus, hide and seek, breathe in this feeling, and pretend you're safe. And then it has a second part 2 of chorus 2, which says, take it, please. Feeling has weakened and deep end has me. And this is almost where you're thrust into it, but you don't want it. You wish you could go back to a place of ignorance and innocence, but it's not there anymore. And now you got to live with this. That's that feeling of I don't want this. I didn't know what this is. I didn't sign up for this. But you can't escape those things. You still have those responsibilities. You still have this life to live and these things to do. And these experiences that you have to overcome. You can't just get rid of it. You can't just get rid of someone that, you can't get rid of like the feelings you've had for somebody. It's not that easy. So if someone passes away, which I've experienced far too much, it feels like, those are the feelings that I wish it would be easier if I didn't feel that stuff. But, I'm a person. We're all people and we all have those experiences. And there's been lots of people that I've met, a lot of friends that were very close to me who passed way too young. And I think about that all the time, is that like, it would be easier, if I didn't love these people. But of course, life isn't like that. And the very reason that I love them so much, and that I cared about them, and that I cherish the moments that I had with them, is the very reason that it hurts. And although it might be easier for those things, that's not how the world works. I have those experiences, I have that love, and I have those memories for them, and I'll always have that. But that unfortunately includes the pain that you experience. Yeah, it's a depressing thought, but this is the world. And as I've grown and I've lived life, that's something that I've had to learn. And it never gets easier. It never once get easier. But that's the moment in this song. This person is thrust into a world that they didn't even sign up for. Like, they didn't want to really do this. They went and explored for their friend who went in, but after they've come out, now that they're in there, it's just like, you can't go back. You can't go back to what you were. Ignorance is bliss, And what is it? The curse of knowing is that you can never truly understand what it's like to not know. That stuff's intense to me. Anyway, let's continue. Now we're getting to the bridge section, which is a part that I basically improv'd and then I put in lyrics to later. So the take 6, all of the different takes actually had different versions of the bridge vocals, but this was take 6 and I thought it fit perfect. So it goes like this. I can feel it now. Oh no, I can't carry it. I can feel it around me, closing in. Am I the only one? Am I the only one left? This is that moment where like all the things that you knew are gone. And you now have to like live with this reality of being alone. And maybe not like physically alone, but feeling like you don't belong. That's as alone as it gets. I've felt that. And I feel like at some point everyone feels that to some extent. Even the people who have like all of these friends and all these things. I can't imagine that no one has ever felt as if I can't imagine that there isn't one person who at one point hasn't felt alone. And that's kind of what this is about. This song is like, overcoming these things is difficult. It's not easy. It sucks. And there are moments where it is pitch black and you're the only thing there and you feel like it is consuming you and there's nothing that you can do. And, unfortunately, the only thing you can do is be. It's a tough pill to swallow. But, yeah, it's weird. Like this entire thing was completely improv, but I could just like feel that moment. I felt that like darkness surrounding the main character, John. I felt what that must have felt like. Almost like you found this person who's been mangled. Like, are you going to go get help? Are you going to go inside? What happens if you get lost? You haven't been out this far before. You go back and you're lost. And like, now you're alone and you have to like fight for being. It's a terrifying thing to think about. Imagine being in the dark here, playing guitar, experiencing this. Because that's what I have to do whenever I'm making these songs. And that's the moment that I cherish and love the most, is being able to experience these absolutely excruciating emotions and not having like physically experienced them necessarily in that exact sense. Like I have not been that kid in the cornfield after I've seen someone be mangled. I haven't been that kid, but I have felt that way. I have to recreate that and feel like that person, put myself in the protagonist's shoes, because that's how I make my music. And it's painful. I've talked about it before. It's painful to make songs, man. It sucks in the most beautiful way. Like it sucks emotionally. I mean, I love it and it terrifies me all at the same time. And then I end with hide and seek, breathe in this feeling and pretend you're safe again. And then the last part of the chorus, I changed it a little bit. Hide and seek, breathe in and pretend this feeling is right. And that's almost like saying that you're fine fakely, which I have done plenty of times. You know, it's like you have this traumatic experience and then, you know, people say that, you know, you'll get over it. And instead of continuing to tell people that you're over it or that you need help, instead of doing that because you feel ashamed that you need help, you decide to say that I'm good when you are in fact not. I've done that. I know lots of people who've done that. It's never okay. It's never okay to do that. If you need help for any kind of reason, that's something that you should seek out, because there are people who want to help you, whether you know them now, have known them before, or will know them in the future. There are people who want to help, and sometimes it comes from weird sources. I've learned that more and more, but it does not help if you tell people you're fine when you don't feel fine. It's better to actually get help when you need it, because that's you need people. You need other people, because it is hard to get out of a hole by yourself, especially if it's taller than you, especially if it's been raining and it's slick on the sides and you can't get any grip. It's nice to have someone who can just put out their hand, you know, even if it just gets you out of the hole. They don't need to walk you back home. They just need to get you out just for today. You know what I mean? It's the small stuff like that. And those are all the lyrics in the song. I broke that down, and it's kind of intense looking back on it, because I kind of forget, you know, what these songs, I've talked about it before, what these songs do for me is I write these stories, I explore these emotions, I put the emotions onto characters, and I explore those characters' stories, and I create it, and I feel it in that way. But as soon as I'm done with the song, I move on and I forget about it, because I stop feeling that emotion, at least for the time being. And so looking back on it again, I feel empathy again. I feel like I'm experiencing it again. And it's a hard, this song, although as hard as I wanted to make it, as intense as I wanted to make it, the story itself has an intense meaning to me. It's a lot. But so that's how I created the lyrics. Those are how the lyrics came to be. And all of this culminates into me actually recording the song and putting it on to tape.